I was thinking I could hook this camera on some so I don't have to hold it, but I'm not finding anything. Well, I'm here in our enclosed garden that I built for my wife about, I'd say, 5 or 6 years ago, and I think I did a good job. Not having any experience building this kind of thing, never having built anything like this before. Although I did put up some fence on our land in Colorado, and I learned how to put fence up out there, and but as far as building this raised platform for the garden, no, I'd never done anything like this before, and I think I did a good job. I had no experience whatsoever building a raised garden like this, and I think I did a good job. Anyway, I'm outside with our new puppy, and the puppy is extremely destructive. Can't help it, it's teething. So I'm out here, and I'm staying with the puppy because the puppy gets upset if it's a he too, if he's left alone. I'm often calling the puppy she because we had a dog, and it was a female dog, so I have a carried over affection for our former dog that expresses itself this way. Now, here's what I'm thinking about. I'm really not sure whether I should be making this kind of a recording in public like this where I could be overheard. I'll try to keep my voice down. This is what I'm thinking about, bizarrely. Back in, well, I think it was 1980, 1979, 1980, and I was still downtown in downtown Washington, D.C., trying to make it in the work world after having earned this master's degree, which almost killed me to earn. And a lot of people say, I got a master's degree. What's he talking about? It wasn't that hard. Well, I'm going to take a moment to explain why it was so hard, even though that's not what I wanted to talk about. It was so hard. As I've said in other recordings, that the program there was really a money-making thing for the university, right? This was not a university known for having a good English department, right? People say, you went there. No. And that had nothing to do with why I went there, okay? And, in fact, since I'm talking on this subject, one of the professors from the university I attended to get my bachelor's degree, okay? My Shakespeare professor at this university, and he was a graduate of where? Yale University, okay? And he just happened to be that, and he was my Shakespeare professor, and I did well in Shakespeare, and I liked him. You know, I liked him as a professor, so I did well in his class, so I asked him to write a recommendation for me to get into this graduate school. And here's what he said to me. He said, I didn't know whether I should be recommending you for this university because I didn't know about their program there. So I looked into a little, and I said, well, okay, all right. It's all right if you go there. He was thinking about me, you know, whether I should go, whether the program was, you know, good enough really for a student as good as I was to go to. He was concerned, and he said, well, okay. He said, all right, well, I looked into it, and okay, Yeah, I'll write the recommend. He wasn't enthusiastic about sending me there, but that's where I went. Now, I want to say that after long thought, I realized why it was so hard for me at that university. Okay, it's because the program was basically a money-making thing for the university. Where how are they going to make money? Well, public school teachers in the area around Washington, D.C., okay, these were not mainly teachers like, I'm just thinking about this now, teachers in the public school system within Washington, D.C., which was way back when I was around 18, it was like the city was 70% African American at that time. It no longer is. Okay, but at that time it was. It was even called Chocolate City for that reason. Anyway, teachers in the public school system, from my experience in graduate school, were not flocking to MA programs to get master's degrees, while teachers in the area schools around Washington, D.C. in the states of Maryland and Virginia, which surround Washington, D.C., these teachers were interested in getting master's degrees. Why? To get a raise at work as teachers in the public school system of Virginia or Maryland. If they got this master's degree, they get a raise in pay. So they were interested for that reason. And let's face it, I gotta say, I went to a lot of these public school teachers. They were my classmates. Now, I didn't become buddies with any of them. I didn't become friends with any of them, but I went to classes with them and I saw how they behaved in class, how they did their work and all, and class presentations, class participation, and these folks were highly dedicated to the study of literature. I mean, they were teaching this subject all day long in school for years, so they were genuinely interested in literature. So, I'm not poo-pooing their desire to get a higher degree, to get a raise in pay. They had families and so on. I'm not doing that. However, when you think about the money-making aspect of this, the university did not want to seem, this is all theory on mine, that it was just selling degrees to people so that they could get a raise in pay. It was going to make them work for those degrees. Okay, so these teachers from outlying areas who were highly dedicated to the study of literature, there's no question about it. Okay, these are like knights in the study of literature, women and men. They really were absolutely dedicated and, carrying the torch for the study of, for the scholarship in this area of scholarship. So, nevertheless, the university didn't want to seem like it was, here, give me some money and I'll give you a degree. No, it's going to make these folks work. So, these teachers were part-time. They were not full-time. They couldn't afford to be, right? So, I believe that the master's program had to be completed in 5 years. They would take the 5 years. I think that's the way it looked to me. I don't have any data on this, but I was a student back then, and I'm saying I worked so hard. I'm sure people who got master's degree in literature say, what's he talking about? I didn't do that. And I went to this or that big name university, right? So, car just slowed down in front of my house. Oh God, it distracted me. Now, okay, so these teachers are part-time, okay? They're not full-time, and they're going to take 1 or 2 classes. Maybe they take one class a semester for 5 years. I don't know the math on this, but just so they'd be working hard at this one class, the university would pile the work on them. You know, they'd be taking the one class and they'd have to read 700 pages and, doing an enormous amount of work for the next class, right? Because the university was realizing you were going to take one class at a time and stretch this thing out for 5 years. But they were going to make it hard for them anyway. So they didn't seem like, oh yeah, you want a degree? Here, give me the money and I'll give you a degree. No, they didn't want that. So I become a full-time student at this university. I realize I'm spending a lot of time on this, but why not? So I become a full-time student at a place like this, and I'm like very young, dedicated scholar myself, and I don't want to be a teacher at all. So I'm in this program designed for public school teachers who are going to take one class at a time over 5 years. And the university going to pile of work on them, right? So that's why when I tell the university starting out there, I say, I'm going to be full-time and I'm going to complete all my classwork in 2 semesters. And they're saying to me, no, you're not. You're going to work. You're not going to. I was going to work too, part-time. I was going to do all this. I was going to pass my comprehensive as well. And they're saying to me, knowing that the university piles the work on its students, because it has a certain kind of student, and they're saying, you're not going to be able to do this. That's the reason they were saying that to me, but I did it anyway. Like, if I had 700 pages to read in a single day, I read them. I did. So I was, like I've said before, I've never worked this hard before in my life. And my life is coming to an end now. I'm an old man, and I never will work that hard again. My God, I worked so hard to get that degree, and people say, I got a master's degree. As I said, they don't get it. Well, here's the explanation. Now, here's what I'm thinking about. Okay, I just got that degree I'd worked so hard for, and that one would have given me a job afterward. I had this master's degree, and I couldn't find a job anywhere downtown. Went to job agencies and everything. I looked on my own. I could not find a job. So what was I doing? It's called temporary secretary work, where I was hired to type. And the test of whether you'd be hired by these agencies or not was how fast could you type and how accurately could you type. The minimum was to be a secretary, 40 words a minute. How fast could I type accurately? Over 90 words a minute. Why? Because I'm a former athlete, and I don't know, I'm a former athlete who's good at reading, let's say, good with languages, so I was able to do this. And so I found work easily in the temporary secretary business, but would you like to type all day long the way I was doing? I think even secretaries, they don't do that. I'm thinking about that for the first time right now, You're hired to be a secretary. You don't sit at a typewriter and type all day long, but that's what I was doing. I was typing all day long, like 90 words a minute all day long. I saw a thing, I'm just reminded, I saw a thing on Japanese television the other day where robots were running like the 100 robots that look like humans in a way. I mean, they're close to looking like humans, but they're made out of metal, right? They're running the 100-yard dash. And they ran as fast as the fastest human When we got to the end, they like banged into a wall, a padded wall, and fell down. That's the way they finished. But these robots ran faster than the fastest human has run it. It was amazing. Okay, but I'm not a robot. So I was typing all day long with my master's degree. Oh, I got a master's degree. I'm typing 90 words a minute all day long. And the employers expected me to do that and to type accurately. And if I didn't, they got angry. So okay, never mind. That's not what I wanted to talk about. What I wanted to talk about was I was doing jobs like that, and finally, I found a job typing in an auction house where all kinds of highly valuable artwork was being sold. And less valuable, just estate sales of folks that passed away, and they're going to auction off the stuff in their house. And it might be cheap stuff, you know? But they also had, like, artworks worth millions of dollars in there and other stuff like that. So it was a very interesting place to work. Nevertheless, what was I hired to do? I was hired to type the catalog for this place because it had like a fancy catalog for people to attend its auctions and look in the catalog, what's being offered. This is a cherry stone, whatever, furniture, and this other is a authentic American Indian belt and so on, and everything is described in there. And so I had a pair of headphones on, and I listened to these appraisers with their appraisals, and I would type what they were saying into the catalog, right? So I'm there with these headphones on and typing like that. Well, this place, let me go on about this place, because it's not what I want to talk about, but I'm setting the scene here. There was no heat in this auction house, so it was. First, it wasn't winter time. I think I started working at fall time. But winter came and there was no heat. So how were we working in there? We were working in our winter coats. So I'm sitting at a typewriter. My winter coat is on. I got a hat on, everything. And white is coming out of my mouth. You know, when it's cold, white's coming out while I'm typing. And I'm typing the catalog. With the headphones on, with my winter coat, white coming out of my breath, okay? This was the kind of place it was, and, well, there were some attractive women working there. Now, at that time, I was in my relationship with my 27 years older than I was Nazi concentration camp survivor. Now, I never wanted to be in that relationship, okay, but it was all I could find. And now, after a couple of years typing, we're talking, I got my degree in September 1978, and now it's winter 1980, so roughly 2 years have passed, and I've been typing the whole time. For 2 years I've been typing all day long. So I'm in this auction house, and there were some attractive women in there, and I'm still in my relationship with this older woman that I didn't want to be in. I'm thinking, my God, maybe I can get together with one of these women here in the office. I might be able to do it, you know. So there was some attractive women in there. I was thinking, my God, maybe I can do this. Well, one of these women started to be friendly toward me. So, okay, she said, would you like to come over to my house for dinner? Now, I gotta say, this woman was not the pick of the lot as far as my tastes were concerned, okay? Everybody's different. Some people might have loved this woman, but she was not really my kind. But I thought, she asked me out, don't be so picky, man, right? Okay? Why I wasn't asking anybody out, I was probably afraid to. These women had boyfriends, husbands and stuff, so it wasn't easy. Even though there were attractive women there, it doesn't mean you could just grab them and run with them, no. So this one was single apparently, and she asked me to come over to her place for dinner. So I said yes, but she wasn't the kind of woman that I would say would get a seismometer reading on my apparatus for those kind of readings on my body, right? That this would produce no reading, pretty much, this style of woman. But nevertheless, I was saying, I'm not going to say no to this, so I went to this lady's house, apartment, and it wasn't that far from where I lived downtown. And there's like a helicopter going overhead. Not far from my house, there's a military installation. I've passed it hundreds of times since we've been living here, but I don't pay that much attention, and I think it's a National Guard military installation, and it says something like Army Lab. Okay, now, when we passed that place, our son has said, "Oh, I don't like that place." Why not? I don't like that place. I just don't like, he's got a sixth sense reading that he didn't like that place, you know. I know what he's talking about, but I don't really get that sense because I have nothing to do with that place, you know, so. When he was younger, right, he could have possibly been drafted into the military, or, you know what I mean? There was no draft during his coming of age, around 18. There was no draft at that time, but I guess people think about those things when they're young, so he didn't like that place at all. To me, you know, there's a military installation over there. It has nothing to do with me, and it's never going to have anything to do with me, but that's why there's probably an Army helicopter going over right now, because that place is right over there. So let me get back to what I'm talking about here. This must be very long, but I don't see the time. Oh, there it is. Yeah, it's over 20 minutes long. Okay. So this is not the kind of woman who excites me sexually. It just isn't. But, okay, so I go over to her place, and when I arrive there, what do I find? There's another woman with her, and the woman is clearly a lesbian. I mean, it's just like, do any of you folks share with me the ability to tell sometimes when a woman is a lesbian and when she isn't? Are you able to see that? The way she dresses and behaves and talks and everything? It's just like, you know, have you ever seen this musician? Oh God, I can't remember his name now. He was a pianist of like East European descent. And he was just as gay as you could be, you know, there was no doubt about it. The way he dressed and everything was clear and behaved. So do you know what I'm talking about? So this lady was without a doubt a lesbian. Now, I did not think or suspect even that the woman who had asked me to her place was a lesbian. It didn't occur to me at all. But when I get there, I thought she invited me for dinner, and here's this lesbian woman there ahead of me, and she wasn't leaving. So she didn't seem like she was going to be part of the dinner. What the hell was she doing there? And so we're having a conversation, a three-way conversation, me, the woman who invited me, and the lesbian. And at the time, I did not think, well, the woman who invited me over was a lesbian, but she probably was, because this woman who invited me over did not look like a lesbian, you know what I mean? And if you do any research online now, as I've done, and you see, like, some of the porno produced for people like that, you see that lesbians, they don't look like lesbians. A lot of the time, they just don't look like them. So this woman was probably a lesbian, and she's the one who asked me over. She's the one who asked me over. Now, That's not what I wanted to say, but since I've said that, I think maybe I'll just end with that, and I'm not going to talk about what I was going to talk about. I'm just not, because I've come to this other point that's worth making, and I didn't plan on making it, actually, so since I've made it, I think this recording is as good as it goes, and I don't need to go further with it. Let me pause a second. I don't want to shut this thing off. Well, let me say a little more. This lesbian finally left. Okay? She was there for the longest time. Finally she left, and so the woman says, okay, well, I'm going to get dinner now. She's going to get dinner now, so she said, I'm going to make spaghetti. And she, spaghetti, even I can cook that. Spaghetti is, you take it out of the box, you put it in water, in boiling water for like 6 minutes, and that's, you've cooked your spaghetti. But she didn't have any meatballs, nothing else, not even a salad to go with that, and that was dinner. She made spaghetti, and she had like a jar of tomato sauce, which she opened, and that was dinner. So she was telling me she had a boyfriend even. She asked me over. She's telling me she's been going with this lawyer who's always away on business. She's not married to him, but he's her boyfriend. She's been in a relationship with him, and it's hard. He's off and away in Annapolis or something. He's always off, and it's so hard. So, anyway, that was it. After that, I said, no more with her, and that ended things with her. And, well, not long later, I left that job, and there's my story about the lady who asked me out at the, what's that place called again? Auction house. Now, meanwhile, I got to say, as a temporary secretary, to get as much experience of Washington, D.C. as I could, as a writer, I was telling the agencies who would send me out, I said, I only want to work this place 1 or 2 days, and then I want to change. Now, it was possible, like, to stay at a place for weeks, months, even years as a temporary, but I was moving to a new place of work, like, every 2 days, 2 or 3 days, because I wanted to see as much of the city as I could. So I was going from job to job to job every 1-2 days in downtown Washington, seeing this place, that place, the other place. And I gotta say, I was meeting everybody who was doing that secretary work was women. I did not meet a single other man doing that. Okay? And yet, no dates, no relationship came out of that for me, as I might have thought it might. It didn't, nothing happened. And I did try. I did try to talk to women here and there, and nothing worked, nothing happened. Well, okay, I'm tempted to put this footnote on this recording. I was saying that I did work as a temporary secretary. Now, I was remembering how America's Man of the Year was hearing from me how one of the places, I said I worked in a different place like every 2-3 days, so I worked as temporary secretary for quite a while. So I worked at lots and lots of places in downtown Washington. Lots and lots of different businesses, lots and lots of different places. And one of the places, I'm afraid to say the name. I should be able to say it, right? I worked there. I was there. Why can't I say it? Okay. One of the places I worked, I don't even know if this organization still exists. It was the National Football Players Association, which is the union for professional football players. That's one of the places I worked. And I won't say anything more about what happened there, but I recall telling the man of the year that I did work there, and he just found that hilarious. He said, "You worked." He said, "I was working at the National Football League Players Association, typing." He said, just laughing just like that. You did. He's laughing like that, so. The man of the year got a big kick out of that one. I'm just thinking about that now. That's all from me for now. Bye for now.